Bereavement is something most people will face, unfortunately, during our working lives. Losing someone close can have a huge emotional and practical impact, and it's important to understand your rights, responsibilities when it comes to time off at work. Under UK law, if you're an employee, you have the right to take time off work if a dependent dies. A dependent could be a spouse or partner, a child, your parent, someone who lives in your household, or someone who relies on you for care or support. The time off is for dealing with emergencies, such as arranging or attending a funeral. There's no set number of days within the current legislation. It simply says the time should be reasonable, and importantly, there's no automatic right for this time to be paid, unless your contract or company policy says otherwise. If a child under 18 dies or there's a stillbirth after 24 weeks of pregnancy, parents have a statutory right to 2 weeks off. This is called parental bereavement leave, also known as Jack's Law. This is leave that can be taken in one block or split into 2 separate weeks, and eligible employees may also receive statutory pay. What happens if the dependent isn't a dependent? If the person who dies isn't a dependent, there's no automatic legal right to bereavement leave, but employers offer compassionate or special leave. If the person who dies isn't a dependent, there's no automatic legal right to bereavement leave, but many employers offer compassionate or special leave, which may be paid or unpaid as part of the company policy. But without a legal obligation, a compassionate and flexible approach is always recommended and considered best practice for employers. Grief isn't linear. It can affect performance, well-being, long after the funeral. Sensitivity and communication are key essentials for both employers and employees when navigating through such situations. Employers do have the right to time off for a funeral if the person was a dependent. If not, it's at the employee's discretion. But refusing could risk discrimination claims, for example, if it's part of a religious practice. Employers and employees should also have an open conversation, confirm what leave is available, whether it will be paid or unpaid, and keep the approach consistent. Take a reasonable approach always. The new Employment Rights Bill will broaden bereavement leave rights. For the first time, there'll be a day one right, at least 1 week of leave after the death of other loved ones. This is expected to include spouses, parents, and siblings. However, unlike parental leave, this will be unpaid, meaning many employees are likely to use holiday or sick leave, as although it's a step forward for many, financial pressures could limit how this is used in the future. If you're an employer, have a clear bereavement policy. If you're an employee, know your rights and don't be afraid to have the open conversation with your manager or HR. At KLG, we support both employers and employees in navigating these difficult times with clarity and compassion.